Hi there, my name's Andrew Adams and welcome to another Parker Adams Boat Sales video. And we've decided to do something slightly different today. We are in a brilliant position at the moment with Fairline Targas, that we've actually got 3 Fairline Targas for sale. A Targa 34, a Targa 40 and a Targa 43. But 2 of those boats that are for sale are actually on our pontoon today. In fact, I say for sale, this one is actually going to its new owner today. So we thought it was a perfect opportunity to come down to the pontoon and actually do something a little bit different. Now, as you know, I've done quite a lot of walkthrough tours on the Targa 34s, and I've also done a walkthrough tour on the Targa 40. But what we haven't done is a comparison tour. So the aim of this is not to go through everything in all the details, but actually to point out the differences between the 2 boats, because actually the Targa 34 is so popular, what we are starting to find is people saying, what shall I go for next? And the Targa 40 is probably the obvious choice. So this will be quite a nice walkthrough tour to show the differences between the 2 boats. So if we start off, the thing that you notice first of all, if we walk all the way down the boats, the Targa 34 is absolutely sleeker. It looks a more nimble sports boat. It's got this lovely styling with these arched windows. And the performance side of things, talking about the sleekness, the performance is absolutely ahead on the Targa 34. So this particular boat is fitted with CAD 44 engines, 260 horsepower each, and the performance on this should be around about 35-36 knots. Of course, you can get CAD 300s in this boat as well, which touches the performance to just about 40 knots. As we walk down, the Targa 40's performance, on the other hand, is slightly different. You've got some different engine options on this because of the age of the Targa 40. So the Targa 40, the smallest engines they had in them was CAD 300s. I think that's accurate. I don't think they fitted any CAD 44s. I haven't seen any with CAD 44s. And the performance on that is around about 32-31 knots with CAD 44s in it. But what they did with later versions is they added on D6 engines. So they added D6 engines, which then increases the performance of that boat with the latest generation common rail engines. But as we're walking through, you'll have noticed already the change in height. There's quite a dramatic height difference between the 2 boats. If I stand here and put my hand up there, I'm just about touching the top of the radar arch. If I step across to the 40, no chance. So there is a good, I would say, metre higher on the 40, and where that really comes into play is downstairs in the cabin space. There's a lot more height, and it feels quite a bit more voluminous down below. As we walk down the side of looking at it, the 40 is just noticeably larger. It has a much bigger presence on it. We've got all the covers on at the moment, but something I do like is that the window's got a really nice tapered edge to it. So this window frame comes up to about there, and then it gets really thin, and it creates a really nice style. And I'll just overlay a picture here of this boat without these covers on, and you can see it's a really stylish boat. This particular example is a 2003 boat, but the owner has upgraded things like putting the very latest Fairline decals on, which actually makes a big difference. I think little touches like that really do modernise the boat. As we walk our way down, they're similar era boats, so you can see the slightly green tinted windscreen is the same on both the Targa 34 and the 40, but the height of the boats, if I stand, in fact we'll run up and down the pontoon, if I stand here for jumping off the boat, that comes to about the middle of my chest. If we run down here to the 34, I'm going to make Jonathan work on this video. You can see it's quite a bit lower, so it's actually down to my waist height. So in terms of jumping off, I'd say it's easy to jump off the 34. With the 40, for mooring up, it would be a good idea on that to do your lassoing, so dropping a rope down over the pontoon in order to moor up. So in terms of rear access to the boat, I would say the Targa 34 is actually slightly easier to get on. So at the Targa 34, you've got this platform which extends slightly further out. Now it's not a full wraparound platform, so don't step there because you'll fall in a drink. But what you can do is just step onto that bit there, which makes getting on and off fairly easy, but you will probably want someone just to pull in the stern of the boat when you come through. But on the Targa 40, you can see it doesn't extend around. So that's something I'd say the 34 definitely has an edge over, because you actually have to step physically across there in order to get onto the 40. In terms of side deck access, the 40 has got these teak-laid side steps, so you can walk up here. There's a handhold just here, and then you can go up onto the side, and you've got really good side holds on each side. Now, it's not quite so good on the 34, particularly this boat, but actually I've already made a recommendation to the person buying it that he puts handles on. Something I did to my 34 is that when you come up the sides, you do have a handhold there on the inside of the radar arch, but as you come up onto this side, people who have 34s really do need to fit the additional grab handle, which can be fitted just into that space there, and that makes a big difference, because when you're here you're a little bit vulnerable. So I always recommend that on 34, get your grab handle. In terms of access, you can see it is a little bit more difficult from the stern, but when you're in the cockpit, and I'll show you that in a minute, you do have a step which is internal to get outside, which is nice and easy. One of the biggest, most obvious differences between the two boats is that the 40 has a tender garage. So the tender garage is nestled just in here, and there's a 2.7 metre tender inside there. I don't think you can have a 2.7 with an engine on. I think you have to take the engine off and put it inside the tender, but it's certainly in there, and it's nice to have a rib, easy access there. The best option on the Targa 34 for a tender is exactly what this boat's got, which is snap davits. So these snap davits, really simple, easy to use. You bring the tender onto the side, you clip them onto it, and then you just pull the tender up. Then on the Targa 34, you've got these grab handles here. You can just tie the tender onto the side there, take the engine off, either store it in the cockpit space, or some 34s have an outboard bracket here, which can put it onto. Life raft access, it's important to have some people to have a life raft, particularly if you're going cross channel. On the Targa 40 there's an additional storage space which is underneath the sun pad cushion, and of course the sun pad cushion is something you get on the 40, not the 34. That's under there, and the life raft storage on the Targa 34 is just inside this locker here. They don't always have them anymore, but the Plastimo Cruiser life rafts do have them. In fact, the reason I made a mistake then is because I got sidetracked, and there's a lesson here. I'm going to teach you a little something, and everybody's done this. If you have heating on a boat, so if you have a Webasto, Eberspacher, Autoterm, Planar heating on a boat, do not put your fenders by the outlets. That's my advice. And the reason I got sidetracked is because I noticed this fender has had a hole burnt into it. That's something which I know has caused fires in the past, particularly if you have a fender socks on and the fender socks then catch fire and you end up with a burning fender on the side of your boat, which is not ideal. So that's why I got sidetracked. A little safety lesson there. Don't put your fender in front of your outlet for your central heating. That wasn't the point of this video, but I hope that's useful. So cockpit space, shall we go on to the 34 first? So the 34, in my view, has class-leading cockpit space for the size of the boat. You've got this really nice wraparound seating here. This particular model has been reupholstered. It's got it's got Spalding Diamante upholstery, and with this table in place, you've got easily comfortable seating, I would say, for about 8 people, and I think this seating space here is slightly larger than the seating space on the 40, because the 40's crammed quite a lot in, and I really like this extra little seat here. I know when going along, when I had one of these, that's probably my friend's favourite spot, was sitting there watching the world go by on a nice passage. So really good seating space on here, and then up at the top here you have again another seating space. I would say comfortably 3. You get 4 cosy friends on there, but 3 people here, a couple of people here, and another one facing forward. And then on the 34 you have a single helm seat. I say single, you probably get a helm and maybe a child on there, but it is fundamentally a single seat with a bolster, so you can lift up there and have your driving position. So that's the cockpit space on the 34. I said I wouldn't jump between the boats, but actually I think I will jump between the boats. They're so close together. So let's have a look at the 40. So on the 40 you have basically a really nice entranceway, and that also means you've got more storage space. So in here you've got a little cupboard space there for lots of cleaning materials. You've got a side access step which goes up onto the side, and of course you've got the grab hold both on there and also the grab hold on the radar arch. And then as I'm going up, Targa 34 access to the engines, really good access to the engines, but you do need to make it work, so you have to take the cushions off. You take 3 cushions off, you lift up the side cushion, and then hydraulically the engine hatch comes up, but you do then have full access to the engines. On the Targa 40 you've got this hatch. You lift the hatch up, you've got the fuel tanks on either side, and you've got a little step down there, and you can get down into the engine room. It's a really big engine room, and you can see there's actually a generator down there as well. It would be quite hard to fit anything other than a really small suitcase generator into a Targa 34, but you've got a really big, I think this one might even be a 7. So ask Jonathan's advice on this one. Is this a 7? I know it's a chunky generator on this one. I know it's a big generator.
Yeah, it is a big generator.
Yeah, it might be a 7.
It would be at least a 7.
Yeah, so I think it's quite chunky there. So this is one way you can get access to the engine, but under the tender garage you can also take the floor up if you needed to do major work on the engines, and you can get access through there. As we step through, you've got a sunpad cushion on the back, as I mentioned, and you've got this quite nice bolster seat that moves forward here, so that creates up that huge space there. Put it back, and then here, I always forget to take this off. I'm going to take that off before it drops off. You've got a table, and the table opens up to a full size, and then you've got a full U-shaped seating. I said that one's bigger. I think you could argue either way, actually. I think they're a pretty similar size, those two. Close that up. Something you have on the 40 is you have a cockpit grill. So you've got a grill, barbecue, hot and cold water in the sink unit here, and then a fridge and more storage under there. For the helm position, again, you've just got a single helm, so not a double helm, but it's actually this is 100% a single helm, that one. On the 34 it is bigger, because you could have a child sat next to you. Dashboard designs, pretty similar, they're of similar age, and then you have this slightly smaller seating area than the Targa 34. So on here, really, you've only got space for, I'd say, 2 adults on there, whereas on the 34 you can actually get 3 adults up by the helm position. It's very warm in here. I think I'm talking too much, it's getting very warm. A point, if anyone's watched the walkthrough tour on this, we've got notification the new steering wheel will be arriving next week for this. So there's a really nice grey Fairline steering wheel arriving next week that will replace this interesting white steering wheel. So that's the cockpit space on these. What I'll do is, while we're here, I'll go down on the 40 and then we'll run across out to the 34. Just take my shoes off. In fact, what I might do is I might grab the GoPro. I'll grab the GoPro for this one. Bit easier just to see around. So down below on the 40, it is quite noticeably bigger on the 40 than the 34. You have the galley space which wraps all the way around. You've got a double sink. Because this boat's fitted with a generator, you've got a hob, microwave, wooden flooring on the floor there. You've got 4 steps and a pretty big U-shaped seating. Skylight up here. And then access to the heads just in here, where again you've got wooden laid floor, and it's just a really nice size, and you have a wraparound shower on there. So while it's fresh in people's minds, I'm going to run it back across to the 34. It's a different style of video this. I hope I'm not boring people flying between the two boats. So I'm now on the 34 and going downstairs. I start off with this view here. Again, you can see very similar in style. The boats share absolutely the same DNA as each other. And actually a nice little touch. I've not seen these on 34 before. You've got a little spring mount there just to keep that door open. Quite like that. If I then do what I did on the other one as well, spin round, you can see the galley area quite a bit smaller, single sink. On this boat you've got gas, so you've got a 2-burner gas hob just under there, gas oven, fridge, and then access to the heads in there. There isn't a wooden floor, and it is still a shower room, but you pull the shower all the way around rather than the other one. So let's look at the accommodation. So accommodation wise, you've got an offset double bed. It's a good size though. I had many nice holidays on board this size boat, and you've got a good size offset bed in here, space to change just about. And then you have cubby holes on either side, and then you've got courtesy lighting which works up inside there, and a little vanity mirror there. And then if I look in the rear cabin, under here on some Targa 34s but not this one, you have a sink under there, you have a seat, and then underneath here you've got the cockpit cushion, sorry, the bow cushions are just nestled there for storage, twin beds there, and quite a large cupboard at the back. So that's the accommodation on the Targa 34. Let's go and have a look at the 40. So let's start off as I did before, open this one up. The head's on the cabin on the 40. Should have put the cushion in place, shouldn't I? There you go. The owner of that will tell me off for that. So here you have a really, really good size. It's a central bed on this one. Again, you've got storage on either side. The mirror is on this side rather than the other one, but it is certainly a slightly larger space between the bed, but not massively so. But the main difference, of course, being it is a central bed rather than the offset bed. And then in the back cabin, it feels quite a lot bigger here, just mainly because of height and headroom. So you've got good headroom here with a skylight at the top. You do have the sink option on this particular boat. and then you have the seat, and then he's got an infill in this one, which makes this up to a full large. So I hate myself in the mirror, so I'll get out of the way. You've got a infill here, so you've got a large double bed in here, but it is an infill, so you could have it as 2 singles for children as well. So let's go back up into the cockpit space and just show you once again around here. So I'm going to spin the camera around. I hope that's been a really useful 15 minutes, a quick comparison tour of the Targa 34 versus the Targa 40. They are both absolutely brilliant boats. Of course, they're at different price points. Targa 34s at the moment are going for around 120,000 for good examples, up to 130. Good examples of the Targa 40, anywhere between 150 and about £180,000. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been slightly different. I've enjoyed bringing it to you, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks as always for watching.